Well, that is highly annoying. I was vibing on the topic I was talking about, and my phone, my brand new Google Pixel 10 phone, just turned off. I don't know why. I felt like I was on a roll. But ironically, that is a beautiful segue into the first topic of what I was already talking about, and that is the problems of life and our suffering and the pain that we add on to our lives through our resistance to what is in the moment. Oh, universe, you win. Alright, well, we'll try again. So I have a category. I like to write out all the different aspects of life, so to speak, and there's a category I have called hard stuff or hard shit. Basically, it's talking about how pain and suffering of life, how life has change, eventual death, all the worries and anxiety and thoughts we have, and the situations that cause all that worry and anxiety. And so within that, I had the idea the other day that within this kind of life situation subcategory. So for like life situations, what do I mean? Like losing your job, something stressful at work, maybe a death of a loved one, maybe worrying about a bill or an expense that came up, something that's going on in your life that's tough to deal with. Now, life has an endless supply of those, and they will never run out as long as we are alive. When one problem is solved, another one comes up. One damn thing after the other. Endless. And what's funny about that is our brain it doesn't realize in real time that like once a problem is solved and it moves on to the next one, it thinks every problem is like the biggest thing, not realizing the cycle of a problem coming in and then it's solved or fades, another problem coming in, it's solved or fades, and we forget about this cycle and how whatever you're currently worried about is eventually going to be gone, just like every problem before you. And the brain does a masterful job at making you think that the problem that you're currently on is by far the most important one. Now, I wanted to say all that because I want to add problems to this kind of subcategory of life situations. And a lot of people would argue that, well, and I think I had originally just as life situations, because if we say it's a problem, then you're converting whatever situation of life is into a problem. But, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. There are problems in life, and they need to be solved. The problem that comes up is our ability or inability to handle them as well as we possibly could. So, for example, this happens to me all the damn time. I'm a software developer, and it's often that you're doing your code, you're trying to figure something out, and your brain's getting tired. It's the end of the day, and you have to kind of wrap up work completely unresolved. You have to leave this problem hanging in the air, and you don't know how you're going to fix it tomorrow, but you have to be done with it. And from firsthand experience, it sucks. Your brain doesn't like shit unresolved. And everyone can relate to this. Like, think about a TV show or something where it's a cliffhanger. At the end of the episode, shit's popping off, and then homeboy's just laying there at the edge, and you don't know what's going to happen, and then it cuts off the screen. Cliffhanger. Like, you want to know what happened, and they do that because they want you to tune in to the next episode. They know that the brain hates things just being left in the balance of not knowing what's going to happen, and you're thinking about it. So I say that because there's three ways to handle a problem. you can basically, can you solve it in the moment? If you can, great. And then you're done with it. And then you don't have it, that problem's over. So, yeah, we know that. That's easy. The second thing, can you just walk away from it? Can you dip out? Say, fuck this. I'm not, I don't need to worry about this anymore. Can you remove yourself from that situation or problem entirely? No? Okay, if you can't fix it in the moment and you can't remove yourself, what are you left with? You got to sit with that bitch. You just have to let it be, like me at the end of work. And that is the rub. And that's where most of us could probably handle our problem solving or dealing with life situations a bit better. Because so often we can't walk away. We can't just fix it right then and there. So what do we have to do? We have to just be there with it. And that is where the mind loves to start thinking. That's when worrying happens. And that's where anxiety hits you at 2 a.m. and you're thinking about something you cannot do anything about in that moment. And what's crazy is that when we let our brain kind of meander, because the brain is trying to help you. It's when these problems come up, you can't do anything about it, you're thinking about it, and it's like, okay, what about this scenario? What about? And it's like it thinks you're being responsible by being proactive about the problems in your life, but the body doesn't know the difference between the actual situation going on around you and the things that are going on in your head, which is why when you think about your problems and whatever, you start to feel that stress. You start to literally feel anxiety. You can have heart palpitations. You can feel nauseous. You can feel just this kind of icky stress vibe because of the thoughts in your head. Your body doesn't know the difference. It listens to the commander up here. So I say all that because that's why I think including this idea of problem solving into the life situations subcategory of hard stuff is so important, is because we create so much more hard shit, so much more suffering from our inability to know how to handle the thoughts within our mind. So I think it's important to kind of know where you're at and whatever problem you're in. Can you deal with it now? Cool. Can you walk away? Great. If not, most of the time it's neither of those two. You got to sit with it. How do you sit with it? The brain's going to try to help you. It thinks it's helping. It's like that person that's, oh, here, can I do this? Can I do that? And it's like, stop it. You're making things worse. Quit it. Knock it off. We got to have that relationship to our minds in this situation if we can't handle it. To do that, be aware. Label these thoughts that come up. They're still going to come up. Even though you know these thoughts are fruitless right now, you can't do anything about it right now, just notice them, label them. And if you do that, then you're maybe more able to not react to them, which will then make you maybe not as feelings of stress because the brain is not continuing to have these thought cycles that then affect the body. And then you lower your overall experience of suffering, which is what the hard stuff category is about. And of course, I'll get into more depth. It's a bountiful category, important one. So yeah, I hope my phone doesn't shut off this time. All right, it didn't shut off, thank God. All right, I was going to talk about two other things. Yeah, let's just go for it. So the next thing I wanted to discuss is within the contentment category. And yeah, so I have these 7 categories. I'm not going to give you the full PBS special, but basically categories for different shit of life. One of them being contentment, this next one. And that's just the idea of being relatively content with your life. And one aspect particularly creates a lot of conflict. Or let's say gets in the way of your ability to be content or happy. I don't like to use the word happy because happiness is an emotion, and we often confuse the word happiness for just being okay. You can't be happy all the time. You can't. It's like an emotion, like anything else. So if you were just happy all the time, then eventually it would become numb. As the great 50 Cent once said, joy wouldn't feel so good if it wasn't for pain. You have to have some other emotions in there to make happiness feel special or unique or good to begin with. So I think a more accurate way to describe a sense of well-being on a day-to-day basis is contentment. So that's why I call it the contentment category. Anyway, the contentment category can be kind of summarized into a visual. You got this bucket. You got a bucket, and that's your sense of contentment. There's a hole at the bottom of the bucket, and that is your wanting. It is your desire to have things, whether that be possessions, money, status, goals you want to achieve, things you strive for, success, maybe a particular relationship, certain outcomes that you want. We are wired to constantly look towards the next thing. And if you, and I say you, but I'm talking to myself right now. A lot of this stuff I say, it's directly from myself, because I'm the biggest culprit, the biggest not victim. What's the opposite of a victim? The biggest criminal of it? I don't know. You get what I'm saying. The biggest guilty party at doing it. And I always want to get ahead, to get better at something. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's value in having a sense of purpose, which is another pillar of contentment. However, if it's from a place of neediness, if it's from a place of I won't be happy or content until this happens, or I need to get this done to feel good about myself, something is currently missing, something is lacking, and something just doesn't feel right until this is accomplished. This is a fool's gold that will never truly be fulfilled, and that is the hole at the bottom of the bucket. So if you get, let's say you want to get that promotion, and it comes with a huge raise, or you want to get that house, and boy, you want that basement. Once you do, if you do get it, you're filling up that bucket. And the hole in there is the shelf life of how long it will feel satisfying to have that thing. Because it doesn't take long before whatever that thing you got to not be as shiny new and as satisfying as it was before. That's the hole. What can we do about it? Well, as human beings, we have, and I'm no expert, I'm no Andrew Huberman, but we have dopaminergic circuits. Basically, we're wired by dopamine to make us be motivated to get shit done. That's how we are survived today, is because we had to be driven to go and hunt and get food and to get water and to run away from that tiger. And that's why we're alive, is because of these dopaminergic circuits. That said, like anything else, it's a powerful tool, but if wielded incorrectly, you can have a pretty, I was going to say miserable life, but yeah, miserable life. If you're always looking to the next thing, something to fill that hole, and then it never gets filled. You're always just looking towards that next thing. And I do that, like with this YouTube stuff. Like I think, man, if I just was able to quit my job and I was just able to, be successful and to just work on my creative endeavors full time, that would be amazing. But just like we talked about in the previous little discussion, everything has problems. Nothing is void of problems. And we create these mental fantasies of how things will be in the future with our dopamine circuits of like, we need to get there. And if we get there, that's where everlasting peace and happiness will be. No. We know it's not true. We know it, but I unconsciously live through that so often, trying to fill this hole that can never truly be fulfilled. So what can we do about that? What can we do about this hole? It's going to be there. We know it's going to be there. But maybe, just maybe, if we try to redirect some of our attention. We can still work on the things we want to work on because we want to do that, but we don't place our sense of fulfillment or our contentment in getting those things, because if we do, then that means we are currently in a state of lack and something must happen in the future that we are dependent on for our happiness now, or our contentment now. I even use the word happiness. It's so easy to do. So we need to focus on things that we have instead. Be appreciative of the richness of life now. And doing that, being grateful, saying things that you're grateful for throughout the day or at night, to have a routine of that, and being aware of the mind that wants to be more and to get more, to do more. Because that is just the ego wanting to grow. And the ego is never who you are, and the ego can never be truly satisfied. I mean, look at the contentment buckets and the holes at the bottom of the buckets of Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Donald Trump, whoever. You know, owning $1 billion company isn't enough. I need another one. I need to buy a sports team. I want to make own a space company. Like, it's always one more thing that needs to be fulfilled. I need to have, so and so has 150 billion. Damn it, I need to get this 180 billion because I need to be more than them. That is that hole. And it doesn't matter how rich or how poor you are. If you have that mindset, if you're working that part of the brain responsible for always wanting to have more, it truly doesn't matter how much you have. You will always feel poor. And right there, you're at the crossroads. Right here, we're now at a crossroads. Because if we realize that in this moment, that nothing will truly make us satisfied in the future, now what? Then what if we could just be grateful and realize that we're rich now? That it's a beautiful sunny day and that I have this truck right here that can take me from different places, and that even just 200 years ago, people didn't have that luxury. You know, they had a horse and buggy. And that I get to go work at a job and I get to leave my house for a bit and not get stir crazy and being stuck within a half a mile radius, which is where most people were for the last couple hundred years. And I don't have to worry about food. I have a fridge at home keeping it cool and fresh for me when I'm ready to eat. So it's switching our mindset to not focusing on things that lack, but things that we have, and to be grateful for that now. And doing so can make that hole a bit smaller. Last topic, this is definitely an abstract idea. If you want to bounce, I get it. This one's out there. This morning, sitting in meditation, and I haven't meditated in a couple days. And I've been in this position where I haven't meditated in a couple days. So I'm kind of almost aware of the difference of how I feel in my brain when I'm in a meditative space every single day versus having a couple day break, and I'm very identified with my thoughts. To be identified with your thoughts, that means like when a person is talking, they're talking. Or when you listen to the radio, you hear it's the radio and it's not you. With meditation, the more you meditate, the more easily you're able to identify that you are not your thoughts, and you can just watch them as passing clouds and choose not to identify with them. Honestly, I could talk about that forever. It's a superpower. It's one of the best feelings in the world to not identify with your thoughts and just look at them as if it's just junk on the radio and dismiss them. Anyway, when I meditate, I can start to drop into that sense of knowing like, okay, I'm identified with my thoughts. My brain I'm going with whatever thought I have, and it takes me for a ride for a little bit, and then I snap out of the hypnotic thought loop, right? And then when I get still for a bit, when that starts to quiet, sometimes creative ideas come up. Like just an insight, something that happens where it's just like, it's almost like an intuition or just like this thought that comes to you rather than just regular thinking that just feels mechanical. It's like you're just, you're just thinking thoughts all day long. I gotta do this, I gotta do that. What did they say about that? Oh shit, we got that thing tomorrow. Oh, what did Johnny say about that in the text yesterday? Oh, my arm hurts. That kind of thinking. That's what I will call in this little discussion mechanical thought versus a thought that almost feels like it wasn't yours, like it just came to you, if that makes sense. Like, if you ever had a creative idea or you see something on TV where they're talking about music and they just had this idea seemingly happen to them or through them. That's the kind of thought I'm talking about. And that was the insight this morning, is noticing or becoming aware of the difference between mechanical, mundane, everyday thought and the thoughts that are spontaneous, that sort of just happen through you. It sounds kind of hinky, sounds a little weird, but that's just how it feels to me. It makes me think of my boy Eckhart Tolle once again. I talk about him a lot, but he's just a great teacher for me. When he records videos on meditation where he'll sit there real still and then he waits like that, like where he has a pause and it just makes you listen for a second. And in that moment of gaps between the words, you're not thinking. So he's trying to put you into a meditative state by using the gaps between his words to put gaps between your thoughts. And so you create more room from that machinery thinking. Anyway, when he does those kinds of meditations, when he's talking, he says he doesn't know what he's going to say next. It's just spontaneous. It just comes out of thin air. He's not actively thinking, all right, what's the best thing to say? No, that's not quite it. You know what I mean? He's just speaking. It's like improv. It's like, whose line is it anyway? You don't know what thoughts are going to come up next. And I guess that is another type of kind of thought that I would bucket in this creative thinking category, away from the machinery thinking. And if you are into creative endeavors, or if you want to solve problems in your life, sometimes it's best to let go, to not try to think your way through all the possible solutions, and just let your mind wander elsewhere. Or do some meditation, or pray if you're into prayer, or listen to affirmations, or just do a journaling session, or where you're just talking out loud and venting. And through that, you come across things that you don't even realize was there. You find solutions to things you didn't realize because you weren't actively thinking in that machinery sense. You were just spontaneous. And through that, it's like you're walking down a trail in the woods and you don't know what trail you're going to go to, but you just come across something. And to be quite honest, that's kind of what I did for this video. And that's what I'm trying to get better at myself, is being more spontaneous and kind of tap into this kind of creative energy side of just letting thoughts happen. So I've been going now for 24 minutes. And while I did have kind of 3 topics planned, I kind of see where the wind takes me. And I think that's something something good to practice, to kind of get out of your own mental and emotional conditioning, because then you just kind of think the same way and you're not really allowing yourself to kind of think out of your own mental box, so to speak. I had something else I was going to say, but now it's not coming to me. And that's fine. I'm not going to try to think my way through it. If that's all I have to say, that's all I have to say. But I will say that doing this kind of exercise and just seeing where the wind takes me and just being improvised by just talking, for me, releases a lot of tension. When you think your way, like when I would try to think my way through these YouTube videos, that's what I was gonna do. That's what I was gonna say. See how that works? I just started talking, and then I found my way back. Not by trying to, but just by trusting the path in the woods. So before, in my YouTube videos, in the YouTube videos, I would think about every word I was going to say. I would type out every single sentence. I bought a damn $300 teleprompter. Never use it. But I would think my way through every word, and it would become very stiff, like a board. And you could feel that on the screen. And I don't know how this video will come across to others, but for me on this end, it feels much more just lively and spontaneous and just free and just more natural, like a person talking. And I think that is a important thing, and I definitely feel like that's where a lot of content creation has gone, is people just talking. Because doctored up videos where people write out full scripts, while they can serve their purpose, they have their benefit in certain sectors of content creation. That is why podcasts have been so popular. It's just natural to hear talking. When people talk, and it just feels free flowing. It just feels like you're listening to a conversation. And people have been speaking for, I think, over literally, what is it, like 150,000 years we've been communicating with each other through oral tradition. And you can feel the difference between someone just rambling and talking, kind of like what I'm doing, versus someone who is going to say the next sentence. And back to the 6 o'clock news. Well, that's all here from Chestershire. I am Tom Timothal. And that is it for now. Take care. You know what I mean? It just feels fake. No one wants to hear that. I hate those kind of videos. Who wants to hear some guy just talk through something he already thought through? I don't know. Maybe you can, like I said, you can appreciate it in some capacities, but definitely not everything. All right, I am currently sitting outside of my place of employment, and I have been so for, couldn't even tell you. That's all for today, folks. Just wanted to share that bit of information. Excuse me. Thank you all for watching. See y'all next time.